the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Discover crypto out here, rediscovering some green candles in the charts. Is this setting up for a holiday pump that oh so wanted, that oh so vaunted crypto pump on Santa, like a Santa rally? I think we are in for some green candles, but we have a couple key areas that we have to pay attention to. And there's some really interesting stuff in the broader markets that are giving us a key signal about what's happening next with Bitcoin. So everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell, and make sure you head over here to my X account and you are following along here at X/Kelly Kellum. And then, of course, my compatriot, my compadre, the host with the most, Mr. Druth Crypto. Make sure you're giving him a follow as well. How you doing today, good sir?
I'm doing good. You know, getting ready for the holidays. Took its toll on me. Spent a lot of time wrapping gifts. You know, I got my mom in town. We're hanging out. And I'm getting ready to record a song tonight. So I'm getting a couple things set up on the computer here. And I also got a yerba mate. I just discovered these things. Yerba mate. Very delicious tea that I'm liking here. But I'm feeling good, Kelly. Honestly, like the charts seem like they want a little bit of action. I'm excited to see the levels you're looking at right now.
Yeah, well, let's take a little quick peek, and then we have some things that we got to go over. Somebody said it's dumping as we speak. Well, on the daily chart, we still have a green candle, so I don't consider that a dump. We have had a bit of a wick up right into this, known level of resistance. And I've got a video that's coming out this evening at 7 p.m. Make sure you watch it here on the Discover Crypto channel, breaking down some of the reasonings behind looking into the end of this week and next week for some very key signals. But on this daily chart, let's actually go to a little bit smaller time frame. 4 hours, beautiful. Look at this so far, run up right into the line we've had on the chart for quite some time. We're getting a little bit of a rejection here. The question is going to be what's going to happen in the very near future. But going over to the larger market, looking at what's going on, we're still over $3 trillion. And I noticed earlier, you look at this right here, guys. Did you guys realize there's over 906 exchanges out there? I really hope that every single one of you, yes, you're trading, but also making sure that you're, along with our partner here on the channel, Arculus, that you make sure that you're doing, self-custody, cold wallets, getting things off exchange, because out of 906 exchanges that are out there, much like the altcoin ecosystem, there's going to be a pretty large failure rate that I think we're going to be seeing over the next 5 to 10 years from exchanges, from altcoins, a lot going on. So make sure you are trading smart. And we are going into the holiday, and I'm going to get back to this in a second. Grayscale, this was actually in their newsletter. I just wanted to highlight a few things, but everybody's waiting right now. What's going on with Bitcoin? Is this pump actually going to get us back above 92, back up to 96, back up to 109, back into new all-time high? Well, first off, you have to be in the market in order to really, experience the profits that are there. But a lot of people out there are saying, I don't even want profit. I don't even want 8K. I don't even an 8K TV or a Lambo. Please just get me back to my entry. Now, I would say this is probably a lot more large in part back on the altcoins. But what does it look like? What does it look like for the next few days? This is the 22nd through the 28th. So anytime during this time period, the probabilities on Polymarket about where price could get to 102,000, only 3%, 100,000, 3%. And it gets all the way down here into this 94,000 until we start getting some substantial price percentage here. 92, also 52%, 86 back down 50%. And then of course it gets smaller and smaller probabilities. That's the bell curve. If you had to guess, by the 28th, Drew, where would you say, where would you put your probabilities? And everybody out there, before he answers, let us know in the chat, which one of these prices do you think the Bitcoin's price is going to get to here in the next 4 or 5 days?
All right, 4 or 5 days from now, I'm feeling pretty good. On the daily, we have a green dot, and money flow is trying to swoop up pretty nicely on the daily for Bitcoin. So where we're sitting right now, and I was talking about this last week, it would be nice to see some buoyancy out of this original W pattern. This is from the trade war washout. And, I'm sitting back and looking at this chart and just analyzing sentiment out there. Obviously the money flow I analyze as well. What kind of crazy edge job would it be for BlackRock and State Street to not give us entry points at the previous all-time high? I mean, what slap in the mouth kind of can't, because the sentiment out here and the consensus is it's coming back down, right? Am I wrong? That seems to be the consensus around the board, is that we're going to be revisiting previous all-time highs in the chat, not among me and you and the other macro analyst, Kelly. And seeing buoyancy here, a green dot on the daily. We are still cooking off of the green dot, the double green dot on the weekly. I actually am betting on psyopness just in the short term here. In the next 4 days, I could see us getting back up to like 94.2, and maybe even more. But this price is actually holding up really well in contrast to the yen yield still going parabolic. Like, we have a lot of things going on that should have pulled us back down, essentially, is what I'm seeing. And it didn't happen. And now on the daily, things actually look pretty damn bullish. You know what I mean? So I was out here trading in this, and I actually, I came in second place in this trading competition, but I still made 34% on the bag, and I was only trading for 2 days on this. So, it was a fun trading competition. But the trading competition showed me and reiterated the idea that people are out here leveraging to the till, to the absolute gills, and they're getting liquidated. So please just take the 20 or 30% profits with a smile on your face if you are out there trading. That's where I usually see people end up with the most pain, is they're trying to make it all back in one.
Well, no, absolutely. And, one of the things that I'm watching beyond just staring at the chart, and oh my God, look at this chart. Bitcoin's price is dumping. I call this a move for fools. Why is that? Because when we're looking at what's really driving the narrative right now, it's the forward-looking expectation about what's happening with liquidity. Of course, they told us last night, and they also did it, $6.8 billion injected in the market, but that's not the number. This is the number right here, taking total liquidity added to $38 billion in the last 10 days. The $38 billion in the last 10 days has started to re-enter the market and basically softening some of this quantitative pressures we're seeing in the market. Now, beyond that, we've got some key things to pay attention to. And I'm going to be going over this a little bit more in detail tonight, but this is it right here. As bullish as I want to be, and even talking about right now, Bitcoin going up to 96,000, is that the holiday pump just up to this level, anywhere between 94 and 98, anywhere in that region? Or is this potentially a trap? Because this is where we're seeing the largest amount of Bitcoin options that we've seen in the history of Bitcoin coming due on Friday. So that's $96,000. So even with price pushing up into right here, this is previous range low right in here, 96 would be, all of these numbers line up perfectly in this zone that we've had marked out for quite some time. But beyond just this story and beyond the options on Bitcoin, realize the broader markets are speaking. And what is it? What am I talking about here? Well, there's been 38 billion already pumped into the markets. We have gold still pushing to new all-time highs, silver going parabolic, palladium breaking out. We have the S&P 500 set up for a next leg to the upside. And remember, they just had one of the largest options expiry as well last week, $7 trillion, kind of holding the market forecast hostage until that settled. And then, of course, we have the 24 billion that we have on Bitcoin on Friday. So do you think potentially this is a new bottom that's elevated? And the reason why I say that, and I said, is the bottom about to twerk? Now, why did I say that? Because looking at this kind of capitulation doesn't happen near cycle tops. This is what we're talking about right here. Here's a cycle bottom. Here's a cycle bottom. Here's a relative cycle bottom during COVID. And we similarly right here, the 7-month sideways action from 74 to 48. We have this large sort of capitulation range. And then look at this. This is larger than what we've seen before this large move. So remember, all these things have kind of cleared the way forward. we're coming into the end of the year. There's a little bit of lackluster volume and, attention on the matter. I feel like there's going to be some whale games going on here between now and the end of this year, that it's going to kind of clear the way a bit into the basically January. What's your thoughts after seeing this, Drew?
Dude, I mean, that's confluence with the money flow and the green dots and everything. Like that is definite confluence there. And like the psyop that I was kind of mentioning would be that the 4-year cycle peak on time for 2025, but then the drawdown being much less and not revisiting this gift from Jesus himself buy zone in the previous all-time high zone right here below the production cost. Because like historically, even with a diminished drawdown, Bitcoin should be going back to these previous all-time highs and then just writhing in pain for the remainder of 2026 and finding its footing at the end of 2026. That's if the 4-year cycle repeats, like everyone says, is still in play. But the psyop here would be less time at the lows, less of a drawback on that major flush out. And honestly, there is a lot of people, myself included, that are foaming at the mouth for a entry point on Bitcoin here in the mid 60s, low 70s region. If we don't get it, that would leave a lot of retail on the sidelines and then turn back on the max pain being up only. So,
dude, it's exactly, remember, we drew this out really quickly last week, but this is those same levels. Look, mid 60s up to the low to mid 70s. This is where people are just going to be mad, frustrated with the market, but smart money, this is going to be their mega stack zone. And that's because we have all of this liquidity, all of these tops in here. This is really, I think, would set up a couple beautiful things. If the price action does come down, and it doesn't have to come down, I'm not saying it has to come down to this red zone. I think this would give us the strongest setup. If it comes down anywhere below this $80,000, $80,500 to be exact, anywhere below that, then we start getting a very similar setup to what we saw back here before this market broke to the upside. We had this sort of W pattern, but the W pattern came to a lower low and then slingshot up. So we kind of have all the characteristics except for that last leg. Now, what I'd be looking for on that last leg to the downside is this. The possibility for a strong, not a hidden bullish divergence, which is what we're seeing now, but an actual bullish divergence, which means the RSI is much higher while the price came much lower. If you go on the 3-day chart, actually, I think I have it right over here somewhere. Give me 1 second. Right here. This is what it looks like. We have massive, this is called a hidden bullish divergence where the RSI is weaker, but the price still was able to maintain higher lows. So all the way back here to, I don't even know when this was. Was this like August 2024? This was the Japanese yen and the Germany sell, all these washouts that we saw down to 48,000. But from that low all the way to this low on the RSI, and on the inverse of that, we see higher lows, much higher lows. The low up here being around $80,000, and it's much weaker at that same state. So this is a hidden bullish divergence. We want to see an actual bullish divergence where if this comes down, the RSI still maintains a higher posture here and doesn't have a new low as well. So I think we're really in store for an interesting few days with the 7 trillion that just got cleared on the stock market. And by the way, if you're wondering what I was talking about, all these other signals that we're seeing, it is this chart right here, right? Where is it at? Not that. Here we go. Silver, parabolic, gold, absolute mooning. NASDAQ is setting up for that next leg higher. S&P 500 is kind of right on the edge of new all-time highs. Dow Jones just recently hit new all-time highs. And one of these things is not like the other. So the question is Bitcoin the canary in the coal mine? And we're about to see a lot of stuff have a major pullback. Or is this basically being more sensitive to the liquidity things going on globally, and this is about to have a massive run to the upside? Because if you look at this chart right here, the inflow. Now, what happens when somebody is holding Bitcoin in their cold storage? Why would they move it inflow to an exchange? Typically, it's not going to be 100%, but typically you move from cold safe storage to exchange when you're preparing to sell. And what do we see here? This is no relative inflows here setting up for any sort of mass sell-off event. Now we got that here. This was the top. We got that here on mass. Oh my God, look at that inflows. And we had massive sell-off here. Yet here we are, just flat as can be. And so people are wondering. And then you got the Russell 2000, which is a composition of stocks out there, smaller stocks that if you look at these highs, these flat highs, the breakout of these zones has also been very tied in with the massive upside price action in Bitcoin. This is very similar to when we all look at the what is it, the IWM, the ISM, my apologies, the ISM, the global business cycles and such.
Yeah.
Similarly, like when we're looking at the Russell 2000, we haven't gotten that signal from this or the Russell 2000, which is starting to give the signal as a forewarning that it's looking like we may be getting that next leg.
Woo. This is that ISM chart. Can we go back to that real quick just to mention on this?
But yeah, I want to just cut you off for a second. This is the kind of stuff that makes me laugh when you see this entire composition of a landscape surrounding an overwhelming bullish narrative looking out in the next 1, 3, 6 months. When somebody in the chat goes, but Kelly, Bitcoin is dumping, and they're over here on a 3-minute chart going, but it's guys, this means it's setting you up for the next move, man. This kind of thing is what you want when you have the landscape setting up so bullishly. You should be praying for weakness and price action because that means you're there. You're aware of it when everybody else is running away.
Yeah, it's Pat and McCrotch, but Kelly, we're done. It's so funny. In like the long-term mindset of Bitcoin, I think matters a lot. There are some market maker games happening in the background, and some of the bodies are floating up to the top of the water even more so now. So it's a weird time for crypto. ABC, a market maker with 25% of hyper liquid volume, lost 75% of its portfolio on October 10th. This is just being revealed now. Scion Arb was forced to close a 9-figure position for a $20 million loss. Selene Capital had 3 positions liquidated, totaling $60 million. And then Wintermute took a hit as well. So it's like the market clarity bill. We have to look at next year for that. It is aggravating thing in that, the idea that Bitcoin won't come back down here, not giving me those, but I did buy a chunk of Bitcoin at 83, and I did buy Aerodrome. Someone mentioned in the chat, I saw Aerodrome dipped below 50 cents, so I padded out a little bit of Aerodrome.
Ondo was at like 39 cents earlier. I looked at my ticker behind me. I was like, what?
I'm still not sold on going back into Ondo. Like I sold good chunk at $2, and then I sold the remainder of my bag at $1 on Ondo, and I'm not horribly convinced that I should go back into it. Some about it. This is my hillbilly gut speaking, but I'm not convinced. Like if I was Wall Street and, I wanted to put everything on chain, I would create relationships with a blockchain company that is doing it and then figure out how they did it and then hire my own to do it. But that's just the nefarious, evil Drew inside my brain on how this might pan out. Do you have any, am I missing out if I don't go back into Ondo, do you think, Kelly? Like, what are you seeing on it?
I mean, I don't think you're missing out by not going into anything other than Bitcoin. I would say Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Chainlink would be the ones that I think, and if I had to really narrow it down to 2, I would do Bitcoin and Chainlink. Now Ethereum, I think, is obviously substantially important in the crypto ecosystem. Ondo, however, while I want to be bullish on it, because I do think they're making some pretty overwhelmingly strong partnerships, there's also a number of other layer 1 chains out there that have some pretty strong RWA ties. I mean, Solana, for instance, is doing, the Internet Global Markets in partnership with Wall Street. Now they're also integrating and doing some things with Ondo as well. I think with those types of plays, Ondo included, I think you need to be willing, anybody that's made vast wealth over time is keyword over time. So if you're going to buy Ondo, there's going to be moments where it doesn't perform at all and you think it's dead, blah, blah, blah. And then there's going to be a series of announcements, and then it could absolutely just slowly melt up for the next 5 or 10 years. But there's no way to know that because it's such a crowded field now with Injective, with Ondo, with Avalanche, with Solana, with Ethereum. There's who knows how many different BNB chain, how many different chains are integrating and doing things for RWA and tokenization, not to mention NASDAQ moving very aggressively towards it. And Paul Atkins, the chairman of the CFTC, that said basically the whole market's going to be tokenized in the next 2 years. I think now's the time to stack, be patient, and be okay. I wouldn't put all your chips in one of them. I would like maybe pick 3, and one of those will probably be a massive runner over the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's some plays, and they're so degenerate. Like, I'm not even gonna tell you on this show, but like, you know, I moved in a couple $1,000 into a SocialFi platform token and staked it, you know, into 2026 because, you know, this is the moment, and I remember this last cycle where I'm buying crypto. People think I am an absolute fool for doing so. Think I'm just like crazy that it's going to go back up and projects are going to do well. And they ended up doing very, very good. And so I'm like at that point where it's like, all right, you know, I'm going to take a couple small portfolio levels, 1 or 2%, move them into speculative assets that I feel good about, but they are speculative and I might be wrong in them. But that's the only way I've learned how to make money in this market is by buying when everyone else thinks it's foolish to do so.
Well, I do want to pull up the Ondo chart though, because
yeah, sure.
you asked about it and then I gave a word salad. But this is kind of an interesting level with this coming all the way back down, but there's no real shelves here that it's sitting on. So other than this low, this wick low right here, which is kind of where we're sitting right now. Okay. But really the next shelf is actually down here a few cents lower, about 32 cents. The real meat of this is down to about 29 cents. So I think if this drops a little bit lower, I think this would be a super attractive area to buy. But I do expect Ondo to perform well because of the type of partnerships that it has and the different integrations it has. Another one that we talk about all the time here on the channel, and I saw some people asking about it, Aerodrome. Look at where Aerodrome happens to be right now, guys. Literally right on this shelf that has been a trend line since all the way, basically starting February 2024. That top, this bottom, and we're sitting right on that shelf. If we lose this, it's not the end of the world, but we're likely going a bit lower. Next stop would be kind of minimal support right here because of this low. And then the next stop would be kind of the meat, if you will, of where's my star? There we go. This zone right in here. That would be, golly, if we could get Aerodrome in the 30s. But this is if the market continues, like if Bitcoin drops down to I can't get out of that. If Bitcoin drops down to $74,000, then I think Aerodrome and Ondo and all these other coins are also going to see some pretty large those pullbacks to those dream zones.
Yeah. And this is like, I think it's important to identify these zones right now because, you know, I mean, generally speaking, in my opinion, like Bitcoin doesn't look too weak right now. It really, really doesn't, especially with all the macro badness going on. And right now, what'd you say?
Look at Tau though. I just realized this. Tau's come all the way back down into this huge liquidity zone with these bottoms, this bottom, this top. I mean, it's right in this zone. So, I mean, I feel like anywhere sub 230, anywhere down in this zone, I think is a great buy for, and look at Tau. It's also fully reset twice. There's no signal on the money flow yet. So I'd be a little patient on that. But man,
I bought a little bit at like 230 or 235. So it's getting into the guts of that preferred buy zone. And Tau is one of the few that, like, you know, I didn't have too much in my portfolio. I felt like I was missing out a little bit when it ran to like $700 or whatever. Oh God, see, people are tickling their fingers on the buy button on Tau right now. And this is like, it's the time frame where, you know, the brave are going to succeed. The people that are perpetual negative pessimists, they're going to be a little sad, I feel like, because we're at a point where if you don't inject liquidity and aggregate into the commercial real estate industry, into the banking infrastructure, I mean, across the board, then we are going into a Great Depression 2.0. Now, is Trump one of the most egotistical people on the planet that's in charge of the United States going to allow that to happen? Just ask yourself these honest questions.
Without question.
Yeah, right. It's just like, it's a pretty easy layup right now. You know, And that's just something to think about. Oh yeah, and don't tell them about Night. Shut up. I've already been talking about Night. I actually want you to go look at Night token right now because I saw it hit 10 cents on the morning show that I was doing on Blockchain Basement. And a lot of Mindshare and a lot of Cardano ecosystem folks are really, really excited about Midnight. I like to see privacy coins succeed. What is your opinion? It just came out, so I know this is going to be hard to do TA on something so new. But what is your opinion about what we have here?
Well, I got it on the 1 hour chart. Pretty substantial, drop here. This is a reminder. If you don't get it on the day something launches, it's not the end of the world. In fact, sometimes it's better. Reset, pump, traps people, comes back down, traps people. It's kind of shaking off all that, but it has worked its way up with a beautiful trend line here. And nice kind of breakout of this zone right in here. But what we see now is a kind of a bull flag, kind of a bull pennant. It's hard to say with an asset that's so new. But what I do like to see is, remember, I don't ever just look at the price action. You look at the price action in relationship to the other data, the RSI, the money flow. And in this case, as it stands, this is looking bullish, but it's bullish on the edge because this is holding above the 50 line, meaning strength is still in control. But this is kind of, this could kind of have a pretty big washout in either direction. It's starting to break out right now, but we need the RSI angled up and we need the money flow to get back above the zero line if you really believe that this is going to continue. I'm not saying it's not going to, but a lot of people see a breakout and they go, I got to get in, I'm going to miss it. And then this just, basically does this. And it's been doing this on every asset this cycle. Up, trap you, down, trap you, boom, 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 really trap you. And then it's like, okay, what the hell is going on? But so I'm watching this money flow right here coming back above like this, how it comes back above the zero line. So see, you could have missed this. Great. And then right in here, you actually are starting to break out and the money flow is agreeing and the RSI was front running this. See this RSI moving up here before this move. So we don't have that yet. So this could be a fake out. I want to see these things agree before I get in on this for the next move.
Yeah. And that's like everything's what I'm seeing is just signs of life. Right now, Ethereum now it's dipped below $3,000 again. Just such a battle to get over that level. XRP at $1.90. And I saw there was a little bit of a move this morning for XRP. Breaking $2 seems kind of difficult. And another one that's kind of got my concern going is Aave. The morning show was talking about some of the like the community's not feeling great about Aave. They're feeling like the token is losing some of its love. I mean, what is your opinion of Aave right now? Which one are you looking at right now? Is this Aave?
Yeah.
Oh God, what is going on here? Let's chart this out a little bit because the sentiment is dropping fast on Aave, but this is good for Drew because I have a bunch of Morpho, and Morpho is kind of second in line that's absorbing some of the interest here. What do you see here?
Downtrend, of course, here, lower highs all the way through. This had a nice move, but look, came right up to that trend line. Immediate rejection and super rounded, ugly bearishness. Now, what we want to see in the near term, if we want to see some bullishness going into the end of the year, is we'd like to see the price action hold this level here, the kind of double bottom here, or something like that. But right now, money flow is just evaporating out of this. RSI is quite low, which I like to see because this might mean that we're coming into bottoming territory, but not necessarily. We need other signals as well. We need the money flow to turn around before we can agree with that. But if this finds some support here and the money flow comes back to zero and this starts to bounce, then that's what I'd like to see. But as it stands right now, I'll be watching for still a little bit lower down here until 150, 148, this sort of zone down in here. And then just be cautious for these signals to give you the hint that a reversal is coming.
Yeah. And it's not like, if Aave falls, it's not like there's going to be no DeFi protocol that rises up to give competition. And so I think it's fair to go look at DeFi Llama right now. Because overall, the market on lending in crypto remains very, very strong, regardless of the pullback in crypto asset prices. The amount of money under these lending protocols has continued to go up and to the right. Yes, you have this little washout right here from all the fear in the current market, but it's finding support at a very, very high level. And then when you look at lending in protocol rankings, Aave is at a $33.5 billion total value locked right now. But right behind it is a channel favorite.
Right behind it. I mean, it's 20 plus billion down, but I think it's primed. I think it's set up to make a run.
Well, in terms of mind share and positioning, it is right behind it because Coinbase is using it as its only lender within the Coinbase app. And it's integrated across a bunch of other wallets like Ledger and everything like that, where you can actually do the DeFi out of it. And so this might throw you off because I didn't prepare you for this. But can we chart out Morpho?
Of course. Morpho? I'd love to start looking at the Aave chart just so people have reference. Here's Aave, same time frame, 8 hour. What does this look like? Super downtrend, an attempt up, immediate, very fierce rejection all the way back down. Same time frame. Let's look at Morpho. Okay, this came down, but this is rounding out. This has a flip in money flow. RSI has already bottomed and worked its way. Look, back above the 50 line. It's kind of right at that threshold right now. It's looking like it's on the edge of wanting to try and make a move. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but this is nice to see that front runner, the money. Like when you water grass grows. So this is watering the grass, right? You're putting money is coming in. You cannot go up the hill if you don't have gas in the car. This is gas in the car. So that's only one signal, though. This is looking a bit bearish in the very near term because we have basically a rising wedge. But at the same time, I'm saying that these typically do break to the downside. But I'm convinced that no single pattern in crypto has fucking mattered in the last year. Okay? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Now, it will again at some point, but they're trying to do everything they can to shake every bit of, they're like, oh, look at all these chartists in crypto. Bull flag. It's pin. It's going to go up. Okay, let's send it up $7. They're all going to go in, man. Now reverse it. Now trip them up. Let's go back up a little bit. No, now further down. They're just jacking you around. So it's a rising wedge that should break to the downside, but the money flow is coming in. So I'd be just cautious just to expect that you have to short this because this is coming down. This very well might fake out, come back up, and then just really wreck everybody's shorts.
Yeah. And this is why I use the flows and like the data behind how much money is actually within the protocol to give me a better weather. And the cycle broke, Kelly.
You want the truth? You can't handle the truth.
This is way more useful than charts, is understanding the chain health and how long the chain has. Is it dying? DeFi Llama is your friend, especially right now. Like you can go look. Someone's asking about ICP. Let's just go look. Let's type in ICP. Let's see how healthy it is. So you got $13 million locked. Okay. How much is this market cap of ICP? $13 million locked is scary. Because I'm pretty sure that ICP is in the $1 billion market cap. Well, yeah. So it's a market cap is $1.7 billion. Volume is down by 45%. And then you look at DeFi Llama, you have $13 million.
So less than 1%.
Yeah. So that's pathetic. I mean, this is absolutely pathetic in terms of how much money is locked in this protocol. It's just ridiculous. And so you can, how many stable coins we have? We got $5.5 million in stable coins. Chain fees over the last 24 hours is $6,000. So this is an issue.
Somebody did just post here, though. They said ICP is yellow snow, which is interesting.
Oh, God. It is what it is, man. And this is like when you dig into the health of an actual protocol, sometimes you see scary stuff. Maybe it's a project that you believe in, you want to see succeed, but if you see the scary stuff, you have to make a decision. Like, do you feel like ICP is going to bring everything on chain, the whole internet, Web3, or does the metrics of how much value locked on chain show you that something is happening in terms of a slow death, right? So That's the question you have to ask yourself. And this is why, when I got into ICP originally, I really wanted to believe, but honestly, man, this has just been a slow grind downhill. And basically the price is right in line with the amount of money on chain at this point. There is no arbitrage opportunity for me here. There is no massive sneaky play that I can make on this, because I mean the value is basically bleeding out of the project, So these are things that you got to think about. My chill is re-engaged. I mean, this is why, like, and also thinking about, like, where is the money going to flow to? Clearly, crypto in the United States is being pushed into Coinbase. I think this is, I mean, is there any other US exchange that's so chosen by the current administration? Every single week we see Brian Armstrong rubbing elbows with some bureaucrat on the Hill, the people that are making this market structure bill happen. So when I see the likelihood that money from institutions is going to flow into Coinbase, then I look for the auxiliary plays that Coinbase is hoisting up. You know what I mean? For good price action. And it's worked well for me during this time in the markets. It hasn't even felt like a bull market for altcoins, and I still made great money by moving out of positions that I felt were dying and moving into positions that I felt had a really, really good upside. So, not sorry about doing that either.
No, and it's just a reminder, when we're looking at the markets and everything, it's Bitcoin right now. I mean, the altcoin season index, it's 16. This means 16 out of 100 of the top altcoins have outperformed Bitcoin in the last 90 days. That's what this metric means. We're still sitting here in very, very, very fearful territory, which at some point, and it's happened every single time Bitcoin has been in extreme fear, even in bear markets, you get some sort of bounce out of this. If we want to look at this on the full scale, I'll show you what I mean. Bear market, right? Okay, this wasn't a bear market, but massive reset. A lot of fear it really just made people think this was over. And then it pumped from 29,000 to 69,000. Look, got into very fearful territory. We moved from 34,000 all the way back up to 47,000. And then, of course, a lot of fear here. So I think people are confusing because we're under the short-term holder cost basis on the 200-day moving average. And then also this theory that the 4-year cycle has to absolutely be true because we're pulling back right now when it would have pulled back. I think they're taking advantage of people's ignorant sensitivities in this market right now, because these major institutions are not looking at the 4-year cycle. They're getting set up to just max deploy into next year. We have global liquidity that's only set to rise. We have registered investment advisors that are just now getting the go ahead in January to start pushing allocations of 1 to 4%. That's 15,000 just from Bank of America, guys. Yep. You have BlackRock. I mean, it's uncanny how bullish the circumstances surrounding Bitcoin are right now, and yet people are so worried. Now, am I upset if it drops to 74? Somebody said earlier, well, you guys said it was going down last week, and I still think we're going to go sub 80. But I do think we're likely, because of all this stuff with the 7 trillion in the stock market, the 24 billion in options on Bitcoin expiring Friday. I think that there's a reasonable more than 50%, I'd say 65, 70% probability that we are going to go up there and test in that 93 to 98K region before we have another move down.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's just a season to analyze the bags, right? Honestly, like, I was very, very distracted with Christmas this weekend, but I want to analyze some projects that, they've been around for a while. A lot of chat, bring them up. Now, this is from Crypto Stevo. If you don't follow him, I highly recommend it. Crypto Stevo 01 on Twitter. Now, he's comparing Near to Sui, and he gave this overscope. This is artemisanalytics.com. Okay, and this is chain transactions. You have Near protocol in the white, and you have Sui in the blue. And chain transactions for Sui stay pretty consistent. They're staying in the low 4 million, 5 million zone. Near had an uptick with, and this is around kind of the Zcash movements, right? Near is a little bit of action. It's catching some of the movement from Zcash.
Well,
And
and
then you,
it's gonna go beyond Zcash as well, because with their near intents, the near intents that they launched recently or became a lot more popular recently because of Zcash, allows for a lot of different chain abstraction, kind of like a chain unifier, kind of like Chainlink is, kind of like Cosmos was trying to do, but it's a AI protocol that also has layer one foundational setup, but also does chain abstraction that you can operate and do things across many different chains all through near intents. So
yeah.
I do think near is going to have a pretty good run up after this all as well.
Well, and it's interesting to look at the metrics here. Stablecoin transfer volume is remaining very, very flat on near. Stablecoin transfer volume much stronger on SWI, but on the downswing right now. But the DEX volume on SWI actually looks pretty darn aggressive right
We
now.
got a shout out to our homeboy Crypto Crows in the house. How
Oh,
you doing, good friend? Hope you're doing well. Everybody, make sure you click on his profile there. Go give him a follow. He always drops great content.
absolutely. Good to see you, Crow. This is just some interesting gut analysis on near versus SWI. The DEX side of SWI, the DEX side of SWI actually looks like it's starting to pick up right now. The fees very, very low and not much fee intake from near. SWI has seasons where it's really outperforming, but this actually makes me want to go snoop around the SWI DEX ecosystem. Um, there is one on the SWI ecosystem that I'll pull it up on CoinGecko here, and I'll pull it up because there's a DEX on SWI that is probably really, really down right now, but seeing the internal metrics of that kind of flip to the upside make me think that there might be some action there.
Hey, John Cox here said the CIA will pull the plug on all of this someday, sending everything to zero. Well, the CIA did that to our democracy over the last 20 years, and somehow we're still here kicking.
Yeah. Also, speaking of sending everything to zero, I am gonna put a put on Nvidia, looking for like about $136 a share, just in case China embargoes Taiwan and Nvidia crashes for just that momentary time. This is kind of like an insurance policy play on my portfolio. But I am watching out for that as a potential, just from all the macroeconomic craziness going on with the Venezuela oil tankers being seized, things of that nature. I am going to put this as a insurance policy on my portfolio, so it's not going to be a huge play. It's going to be like $1,000, maybe $2,000 on it, just in cases. Just in cases we see something like that over
True.
the
I'm
year.
glad you said that, because I want everybody out here to really understand what he just said. Because you take a position on an asset, whether it's long or it's short, doesn't mean that's your entire only thesis on the market. You can be 97% long and hedge yourself, which is actually what leverage is for people with big money that are trying to protect their capital. You could take a position one direction with a substantial amount of your money and get a basically equal sized position with a much smaller amount. So if the market moves either direction, you can basically mitigate your loss and capture the direction that the market goes. So I know that Drew has been trading into basically Tether, getting that dry powder on the sideline, but he's also in some ways max long on some altcoins. But it doesn't mean you can't take a short position as a hedge on a macro asset like Nvidia, which will, if Nvidia goes from 183 down to 136, then the stock market likely broadly is going to be seeing a pretty substantial pullback. So then he gets to capture that if that's the direction the market goes.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the general insurance policy, because too much of this market is concentrated on Nvidia's success. I do not feel sad or concerned saying that. And if there is a washout down to 140 or 139, you would be seeing 50% dips on not only, crypto assets, you'd be seeing it on Wall Street too. So, given the potential of that, I am hedging the portfolio with that potential just in case. You know what I mean?
Bro,
Just
I
in
just
case.
realized looking at this while you were talking, remember we highlighted that head and shoulders on Nvidia. It hasn't really validated it yet. In fact, it's bouncing up right now. But also the S&P 500, we talked about it kind of setting up potentially for another leg up. beautiful sort of inverse head and shoulders here, right at all-time highs.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be crazy. Like, I hope that things keep going up and to the right. It's just, it feels so heated right now that, you know, if we do see Nvidia run into a big problem, then the rest of the market would run into a big problem. I want things to continue going up and to the right, but just being careful just in case. And honestly, like, it'd be great to see that happen and make a couple 100K off of Nvidia, but and then buy a bunch of Bitcoin with the money, right? Like, how beautiful of a situation would that be? So, you know, that's something I'm thinking about. But at large, I'm feeling fine going into the holiday season with. And honestly, like, but I want us to get a good grasp on what you're feeling like in terms of the market, Kelly. You're looking at Tesla right now that just went to really high levels last week. It was is it breaking out? Whoa, okay.
It new all-time highs today. Yeah, it's kind of a small pullback right now. Let's go down to like the 1 hour. It's right there. And, you know, they're getting more and more coverage of people realizing they're not just a car company. You know, they're an AI infrastructure company. They're batteries, they're charging stations. I mean, what Elon has done, whether you like him or not, has been genius over 15 plus years of just really setting an infrastructure play beyond just, oh, he's got some EV cars. No, it's really insane what they're doing. He's even made comments recently, Drew, regarding the Teslas being the possibility of a massive decentralized compute layer, because all these Teslas have computer systems in them, right? And they have, you know, they're connected in through Grok and XAI and all this. So there's discussion about potentially even leveraging the compute in vehicles, that like people potentially being able to opt in and lending their compute in car when not being used to manage some of those inferences, those different AI intents that people are asking, because it takes large computer systems to do that. And basically every car is its own node. It's got a battery system, it's got a computer system, and it's connected to the web. So it's all of a sudden he has this hive brain with his cars, and it's not just an EV that can get you down the road, but it's also a monetary asset, you know?
Dude, and also like the hive brain concept and how much data you need to make an actual AI system run autonomously. Think about how many AI agents are feeding Elon Musk XAI information every single day. There are like, I think we're already in the billions of AI agents. And we're, if not already there, we're soon going to be there. These AI agents largely are on X, feeding information directly into X. That is a whole amount. Like, that's what you need to make an AI system actually work. So, kind of scary, you know. And my wife wants a freaking Tesla now, and I'm torn up by it. I don't know how to fix a Tesla. It's taking the power out of my hands here. If the Tesla breaks, I'm gonna have to take it to the shop. I don't know what to do.
Well, I mean, I guess leverage math there, you know, in that what's the statistical likelihood, or how often do Teslas have issues over a 10-year period, and compare that to you know, a traditional gas vehicle. And if it's one time, you know, in 10 years versus I know how to fix my gas thing that breaks down once a year, I'd rather have the thing I don't know how to fix that I only have to take to the shop once every 10 years.
You're talking to a guy that's a Toyota Maxi, though. I mean, my Toyotas, they just keep ticking. Okay. And, you know, when they finally do break or have something go wrong, I can fix it overnight and have the vehicle running for my wife the next morning. So the idea of having autonomous driving capability or an assisted driving for my wife's vehicle makes me happy, because she's a terrible driver, right? But on the flip side, it's a concern for me, because then I won't be able to fix it on my own. If the Tesla dealership, like every single man-made system, I assume will fail at some point, no matter how fancy they make it out to be. That's what it's what bothers me. You know what I mean? It really is. A chat, should she buy a Tesla or no? Like, I'm very torn up on this. I don't know where to go with this because I
Well, I
want her
mean,
to be
think about it.
safe.
I mean, think about it from the safety standpoint. At least your wife would be safer than in any other car.
Yeah, that is true, and that's the big sell. That's the only selling point that I'm coming up with, which is a big one. But it's a tough thing to take into account here. So, and what I was mentioning about like how much headwinds Bitcoin's having, and we're still performing well. Check this out. So, Japan and the 10-year yield on their government bond has absolutely gone parabolic, and we had some of the craziness attributed to Bitcoin's price falling at the front end of these candles, and things have continued to get worse in terms of the yield skyrocketing on the yen, and we have interest payments on reserves hitting levels. This is not like a meme coin. This is the payments from the Fed banks, just interest on their reserve balances, right? So the amount of interest due to the entire system is putting us in a really, really hard spot. And yet Bitcoin in general is still just hanging out in this zone at like 85, $88,000. It's not seeming to want to break down. And another thing, the first thing that came to me this morning, Kelly, was how similar these patterns look on the daily, where you have the drop, the midpoint of the W pattern, a deeper liquidity grab, like you mentioned, is a highly likely scenario, and then a jettison on up into the right. And right now, we've developed most of this pattern. We got the midpoint of the W pattern, but watching out for that little scoop down to 79, just below 80 before a move. That's kind of developing right now. And on the daily, like, we're still have the green dot, but it's looking washy. I would be I'd be looking out for that 79 mark over the next few days, but my heart tells me that this actually can basically just take off from this point because it's set up a series of higher lows, and it looks pretty damn strong, honestly. Like, I want to be a bear and get cheap Bitcoin, and if I could speak it into fruition, I would. It just seems like it's trying to hold its position here, which is very interesting. I want to go through the chat here. The Rivian SUVs. Let's see here exactly why Bitcoin will go lower. I want to know if I should get the deals are good. The deals are good on. Do you know they're doing like 0% interest on those freaking Teslas? They're just giving them out. You know what I mean? It's a tough call.
Well, he's incentivizing an entire base layer of consumers,
right.
To get involved.
It's tough. It's a tough decision for me, but right now, I think in terms of altcoins, if you have a coin that is way underperforming and the internal usage metrics are falling apart, it's time to really examine those very, very closely. There's a time to get into whatever altcoin, and I think that time has passed. It's a selective altcoin season. So yeah, stay with the Yoda. I know I'm such a Toyota maximalist. I got to find a way to convince her back into Toyota. I got to do it, Kelly. Not going to happen. I also had this comparison of SWI or Avalanche to SWI. Real-time transactions per second over the hour. Avalanche came in 14% lower than SWI. Max transactions, 100 blocks. Avalanche max TPS 86.75% lower than SWI. Max theoretical TPS, it's 99% lower than SWI. Transaction volume is 14.9% lower than SWI. So a lot of these, like Avalanche, is a larger market cap than SWI. So when I see things like this, it actually makes me want to buy SWI. It's at $1.44 right now. One of the newer blockchains that's actually received some love. It's holding up in an original pump 2 pattern. And this October washout likely represents the true back up the truck value for these altcoins, is what's kind of being shown right now. So sweet.
Well, dude, if that's the case, then I noticed when we were looking at Tau earlier,
yeah,
that means we could have an opportunity down to about 135, 136.
Ooh,
that's where
Jesus.
that
On Tau?
I don't necessarily think that's happening. I think if we move a little bit further, I think 175 would be spectacular. But it's anybody's game right now. The risk conditions are still kind of on a razor's edge. Tesla's pumping. Nvidia is kind of looking a bit flat. S&P 500 looks like it wants to make a move to the upside. They've done $38 billion in stimulus into the markets in the last 10 days. So I think we need to take this time, if you're frustrated, to spend it with family. Get out of the charts. Don't assign your identity based on how your portfolio performed or didn't perform this year. Remember, you gotta get out there. What is this all for? It's resources. It's not for numbers on a screen. It's resources to live your life a little bit more by your terms. And if you're not living your life by your terms now, when you don't have the money or the capital that you wanted or expected, then you're also not going to once you have that capital. So find some balance, find some love, give some hugs and kindness and forgiveness and conversation, and connect with people. And the meaning of life, I saw this earlier as a quote from Pablo Picasso. I think the meaning of life is to find what your gift is and then give it away. So get out there, give out some kindness if that's the only gift you got right now. Yeah, we're going to be back a few more days this week, but we're going to be spending the holidays with our families Thursday and Friday.
I love the advice. And, we'll keep an eye. If you are going to be actively trading over the holidays, the Discord Quant provides, had a couple great trades already this morning. And Bitcoin, just for my general play today, I'm in these charts. I'm going to be in the office till late tonight, recording heavy metal music and trading leverage. So this washout down to an old trend line actually looks like it might be happening here. So I might take a little snag if we can get that 87 mark or 86.5 might be the nice play here. This little green box extending out. A lot of volume there, a lot of love there, but appreciate you guys. Kelly, excellent alpha on those larger time frame charts. I think it's stuff people need to hear. And just take care of each other. Okay. Be good to each other. Everyone in the chat, we're all interested in making money and outpacing inflation. So provide content, provide value, and work together as a team. We'll get through this. We'll get to those upsides as a group here, but appreciate you, Kelly. Excellent work. Peace out.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.